Okay, so this is my pechakucha on Adrian Fruitiger. I've tried to record this like 10 times, but I keep messing up. So forgive me if I mess up. I'm very frustrated right now, but I'm going to do the best I can. And there's a picture of him. Look at him. He's just thinking about what typeface he should design next. So he was born May 24th, 1928 in Switzerland. There's the Swiss flag up there. His parents were weavers, and he began experimenting with letters and stuff at a very young age. When he was a teenager, he had a big interest in sculpting, but the adults in his life didn't approve, so instead he went into print at age 16 as a job. So he was an apprentice of Otto Schäferli, who was a printer for 4 years. He also went to art school. And while he was in art school, he studied things like ancient Roman carvings and calligraphy. And there's a picture of him down there when he was younger. He's not bad looking. While he was in art school, he illustrated an essay on carving letters in wood by carving letters in wood. This earned him a job in France at a foundry, which is basically a place where you make stuff out of metal. And his boss at the foundry wanted him to design typefaces because it was clear that he had the skills to pay the bills, as they say. His first typefaces included Ondine, Meridian, and President. His very first one was President, and this was followed by Ondine in the same year, 1954. Ondine means wave in French, and down there on the left there's President, and on the right there's Ondine. President is a serif typeface, and Ondine isn't. I guess that's important to note. Meridian was released the following year in 1955. It's an old-style serif typeface. And those three typefaces were all inspired by the work of Nicholas Jensen, who was a guy from the Renaissance who made typefaces. Soon afterwards, he began designing slab serif typefaces such as Egyptian, which came out in 1956. In 1957, he designed Universe. It's a sans serif typeface with a wide range of widths and styles, and it's probably his most popular typeface. It's used in a lot of things, but I'll get to that later in the presentation. As you can see, there's the alphabet of Universe, and then there's some of the styles. He began getting more design commissions for typefaces as his popularity grew. One commission was from an airport in Paris for a typeface that was readable from any distance and angle, and he made a typeface called Fruitiger, but it was originally called Royce, and it's made of elements from Universe and another typeface, which is not his, called Gill Sans. It's basically a combination of those two. There's lots of variety in his typefaces. He enjoyed making sans serif typefaces more than he did serifs because it provided him more of a challenge, and I guess he liked that. He emphasized legibility, letter proportions, and non-obtrusiveness in his fonts, typefaces. And a trademark of his was that the dots over his eyes were almost always square. See, here's some of the variety. You have wacky typefaces like Fruitiger Stones and West Side, which is like a cowboy western kind of thing, and then there's more official looking ones like Iridium and Vectora, I don't know. So it's clear that he wasn't just a one-trick pony. So his official job was a freelance typographer and graphic designer. In 1962, he opened a graphic design studio in Paris, and over the course of his career, he designed typefaces, logos, and corporate images for numerous companies. He published a book, which is now considered a standard in typography. I am not reading the title because I do not speak German. He married Paulette Fluckiger in 1952, and sadly, she died shortly after the birth of their son, he married someone else in 1955. They had 2 daughters, but those daughters both ended up committing suicide in adolescence due to mental health problems. So he became an advocate for mental health as well, and he and his wife founded a foundation to raise money for research and stuff. He worked in Paris and other areas of France for most of his career, but he moved back to his home of Switzerland later in his life. He died on September 10th, 2015 at age 87, so he lived a long life, and his impact from the typefaces he created lives on. His typefaces are everywhere. His universe was used a lot during the 1972 Olympics. There's a picture of a ticket to those Olympics down there, and it's also used in many street signs in Europe. It's also used in the Paris airport that it was originally, well, Frutiger is still used in the Paris airport it was originally commissioned for, as well as the JFK airport. See, the first two are uses of universe. One of them is from England, and the other one is from Switzerland, which is where the country he's from. And then the other one is uses of the typeface Frutiger, named after him. As you can see, there's a plane, and their logo is written in Frutiger. So the typeface, I decided to research. The specific typeface was Avenir. It was released in 1988. It's French for future. It's a sans serif typeface, and it took inspiration from typefaces of both the past and the perceived future. Frutiger considered it to be his finest work, and he said that he developed it all by himself. He didn't need to ask anyone for suggestions while designing it. It was originally released with only 3 weights, each with a Roman and italic version. It was later expanded to 6 weights, and it was eventually followed by a typeface called Avenir Next in the mid-2000s, which expanded its weight catalog even further. There are so many weights. On the right, that's Avenir Next, and on the left, that's the original Avenir. And this is an example of Avenir being used as a headline and as body text. As you can see, I copy-pasted a paragraph about him here, and I used his name as the headline. So take a second to look at that, I guess. The letters are very thin in Avenir. And there's the alphabet in Avenir, which I was supposed to have too, I guess. So take a second to look at that, I guess. I don't really know what to say here. I know I'm bad at giving presentations. I really don't like talking. And a quote from him is, "The whole point with type is for you not to be aware it is there. If you remember the shape of a spoon with which you just ate some soup, then the spoon had a poor shape." And that goes back to his emphasis on not obtrusiveness of type. Like, he didn't make his typefaces overly flashy. So that's the end of my presentation. I know it stunk, but I did it. I got through it.